Welcome to South Florida Saltwater Fishing. I'm Heath, and it's Tips and Tricks Thursday. Today, in this episode, I'm going to show you how to tie braid to mono. You guessed it, we're not doing the FG knot. Before we get into this video though, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. So first, before we get into it, I want to talk about why I choose to use a blood knot to tie braid to mono rather than the FG knot. The FG knot is what's considered like the go-to knot lately. Everybody talks about it, the FG knot. Oh, I know how to tie it. It's a pressurized knot. There are ways to tie it without having pressure going both ways, but it's rather tricky and it has a high failure rate. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over, there's 3 or 4 points I wanna make as to why I use the blood knot over the FG knot. Point number 1, the blood knot is a streamlined knot. Goes through your guides. Once you tie it, no problem. As you're reeling in, it comes in, or if you cast out, no problem, does what it does. The FG knot tends to get this weird little kink in it, and it can get caught on your guides and it can break off. Point number 2. The blood knot does not have a high failure rate due to the fact that it is a simple knot to tie once you practice it a couple of times, versus the FG knot, which has a quite high failure rate due to the fact that many people don't really know how to tie it properly or end tying it, which is where it becomes abrasive and it snaps off your mono. Point number 3, when I'm out on a boat and it's 2 to 4, I could tie a blood knot no problem. FG knot, you really got to have pressure coming from both ways, and it's kind of hard to tie when you're rocking and rolling on your boat. Point number 4, the blood knot actually threads your 2 lines onto each other, as opposed to the FG knot, which is almost like a Chinese finger trap that grips your mono and pulls against it. This can be abrasive, and as I said, if it's not tied properly, you will snap your mono, you'll lose your lure, you'll lose your whole rig, but you'll get your braid back with your nice little FG knot tied onto it. All right, everybody, you know what time it is. Let's do this. To tie the blood knot from braid to mono, you're gonna need these 2 essential items. Some braid. This is 65-pound diamond braid. And then you're gonna need your mono. This is 30-pound trilene, what I usually use for a shock cord when I'm vertical jigging. You're also gonna need a pair of wire cutters to trim your mono and a good sharp knife to trim off your braid. I wouldn't use the wire cutters to trim the braid because it tends to fray a little bit. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a length of the mono. This is going to be our leader. We're going to take a length of the braid, and this we are going to say would be our main line leading back to our fishing pole. Cool thing about the blood knot is, again, you don't need pressure on this knot. Okay, so what we're gonna do is you want a tag end from both pieces of line that is about 12 inches long. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop a card right up here. Last couple of weeks ago, I did a version of this knot tying mono to mono. It is a great way to go. If you don't know how to tie it, you can check that out. Or if you want to see how it's done from mono to mono, do it. You're also about ready to get instructions on doing it right here. So, blood knot. Here we go. You need good long tag ends. About 12-inch overlay on each one. Okay, that should be good enough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my braid and I'm going to lay it on top of my mono, and I'm going to wrap it around 7 times. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now I'm going to bring it back through the pinching point of my hand right here. You can see where my main line comes out and I have the tag end of my mono. I'm just going to put it right where it V's. Put it right in there. Okay. And now we're going to hold that like that. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the tag end of our mono and we're going to do the exact same thing, heading the opposite way up our braid. So, we're going to go around our braid 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Now that you have that done like that, you're going to come back to the little loop where it V's. This is your connecting point. Now, what you're going to do is you need to pay attention to which way the braid came out. So my braid is coming through this way and going this way. I need to make my mono come the other way through that loop. So I'm going to go on the back side and come towards me with it. So I have my my braid going that way, my mono coming back towards itself. And now we can start to cinch down on one way with it, just a little bit, just to tighten up your knot, and cinch down on your braid and your mono going against each other. So it will look like this. And now what you do is you pull it and you will see what we've got here is we've got 2 lines that are threaded together. Just to give you a close-up look of what's going on, the braid is threaded up this way onto the mono. The mono is threaded back this way onto the braid. This is what causes this knot to be so strong, and it won't give. And again, you have to have your mono going one way and your braid going another way out the center sort of apex point of the knot. Now we're going to just pull them together and they will thread themselves together nice. You can see the knot starting to come together real good. Bingo. And there you have a blood knot. See how, pay attention, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. It is 90 degrees at the connecting point. This is super tight. You have now threaded these 2 lines together. Okay, as I said, there's no kinking point in this knot. It's a streamlined knot. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our wire cutters. We're going to cut real close on the mono. And then we're going to take our knife, sharp Cuda knife, and we're going to cut real close as we can to the knot on the braid. I'm going to put it up here and cut it on the wood. That way I don't cut through my little mat. Actually, let me move the mat out of the way. And I'm going to cut right through my braid as close as you can to the knot. If you have a nice sharp blade, your braid will cut without fraying. So, this is what it looks like when you're done. Nice streamlined knot that will go through your guides, no problem. And this knot is tough. So what happens is, as your fish pulls this way and you pull back this way, your knots are essentially cinching down on each other. So the tighter and tighter you pull, the tighter and tighter this knot gets without being an abrasive application. Again, this is called a blood knot. this is the way I prefer to tie my braid to mono. Alright, so that was my tutorial on how to tie braid to mono. I hope I was ultra clear, not vague at all, and paid attention to detail. And when it comes to this, practice makes perfect. Again, this application can do everything. I use it for vertical jigging, I use it for trolling, I use it for bottom fishing. All depends. I like to tie different types of knots. So this is what I go for mainly when I'm tying braid to mono, the blood knot. There's also another application that you can use, which is called a spider hitch. You tie a spider hitch to a no-name knot. I do have another video about that. There's actually a two-part series. One's on how to tie a spider hitch. The next one is on how to tie leader to a spider hitch. You can do the same thing, mono to braid, mono to mono, whatever you would feel. Feel free to check those out. They're great how-to videos. All right, folks, that about wraps it up for this one. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned. We hope to see you next Tuesday for our Sunday showdown. It's going to be a good one. The weather is clearing up and we're going for big fish. Till next time, South Florida saltwater fishing. Over and